You know that your team sucks and mine is great. It's time for AFFL. Hey, gonna make them pigs, gonna make them mad. I'm gonna do them dirty. Hello and welcome back to Krog Rock 98.8, the only even station on the dial. I'm Bobby Santangelo. Hopefully you recognize me as the overnight host of the Krog Rock Smooth Modern Jazz Show, playing the coolest, hippest jazz from the whitest musicians. Your normal host, Michael Krogman, has neither been seen nor heard from since Sunday afternoon, and we're all hoping he turns up alive and well, but the show must go on, and since I was the only person in the studio this morning, they picked me to do it. I do have to warn you, I don't know anything about football, really. I prefer to spend my Sundays in seafood bars that allow for smooth jazz trios, as opposed to watching the savage dance of the NFL. But we do have our sports department intern Bryden on hand. What up? And he's going to be helping me with some of the finer points of the NFL. Let's get right to these games. Riggins Riggs 132, ISIS 99.2. Riggins Riggs are now 2-2 on the season. The ISIS are 1-3 on the season, and that is a rather unfortunate team name given the current events of the time. This Riggins Riggs, that seems like a lot of points. That's more points than anybody else scored in the league this week by quite a lot. And from what Bryden tells me, that's more points than any team in the league has scored this entire season, so very smooth for the Riggins Riggs. Where did all those points come from? Well, T. Bridgewater scored 20.2 points, from what I understand. This was his first game as a starting quarterback. That's the man who throws the ball, and I feel like 20.2 points is quite a lot for a first game. Very good for that young man. M. Forte, 17 points, also very good, but the real stars of the team for the Riggins Riggs, J. Nelson and S. Smith, 22.8 and 25.9 points. Those are very good efforts, very cool. As for the ISIS, they had a very good game as well. 99.2 points is a lot, and in fact they would have beaten every other team in the league except for one, so sometimes we blow a sour note, and all we can do is keep jamming. For their team, C. Kaepernick, 19 points. That's very good. Close at the QB battle there. E. Lacey, only 11.9 points. I think he could have maybe scored some more there. L. Miller, 17.7 points. He must be a very good player. R. Cobb, 23.3 points, the best ISIS player, so congratulations to him. C. Johnson, unfortunately, only had 1.2 points. I don't know too much about him, but with only 1.2 points, he must not be very good. It shows here that he plays for the Detroit team, and let me tell you, Detroit has a very underrated modern white jazz scene. It would have been better off for the ISIS if they didn't play C. Johnson. Instead, maybe they play this L. Taliaferro cat with 11.8 points on the bench. He must be a good player. That's a pretty good game, but even with L. Taliaferro in instead of C. Johnson, ISIS still would have lost. So all we can do is move on. Lothbrock, 55.9. Animal House, 80.1. Both of these teams are now 2-2, and Lothbrock had the fewest points in the league this week. That's rather unfortunate for them. Their quarterback, A. Luck, had 27.1 points. That's about half of his entire team's points right there, so very good job for A. Luck. But D. Brown, C. Patterson, J. Edelman, M. Wallace, P. Garcon, and J. Tucker, they did not help out very much. You can't let your man blow out in the front without giving him that beat in the back to help him out. T. Williams and B. Sankey, they had 31.4 points on the bench. I think maybe they should have been in the starting lineup there. That would have been a little better for the Lothbrock team. As for Animal House, T. Brady, only 4.3 points for New England. I think that's Tom Brady. He's pretty famous, so even I've heard of him. And Isn't he supposed to be pretty good? Maybe I don't think this is like golf where I think you want more points here. So 4.3 points, not very good there. Jay Charles, 28.8 points. What a good player. What a good game. Nice for Animal House to have him. And Animal House didn't play a DST this week. The Seahawks, I think that's an entire team and not a person. So they had 0 points. But if I look on the other side, the Patriots DST had -3 points. So the Animal House team still did even better there without a defense than. Yes, Bryden's telling me that's very interesting. That I should point that out. Okay, all right. Well, a good game for Animal House, and let's move on. Timmy doesn't have any friends. 78.9. Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. 73.3. Timmy doesn't have any friends. It's not a very cool, not a very chill name, but that team is now 2-2, and Sigmund and the Sea Monsters is now 1-3. Maybe they'll get better. I just don't know. I do know that they play their best possible game this week because all of their bench players have zeros, and it says bye next to their names. I'm not sure what that means, but they don't get any points for that apparently. Ben Roethlisberger, 21.8 points. That's a very good game. D. Jackson, 0.9 points. That's not a very good game. I think you're supposed to have more than that. There was a touchdown for K. Benjamin, 13.6 points. That's a good game for him. For the Timmy doesn't have any friends team, Drew Brees, 17.9 points. I've heard of him as well. I know him from those commercials. I think that's a good game for him. Pete Thomas, 2.3. K. Wright, 4.5 points. E. Royal, 22.5 points. 2 touchdowns. Very good game. Very nice for him. On the bench here for Timmy doesn't have any friends. Jay Forsett, 15.7 points. That was a very good game. He should have been in the starting lineup. Oh, excuse me, Bryden's handing me a card. Let me read here. K. Wright has scored 3.1, 4.4, and 4.5 points in the last 3 weeks since being signed to a 3-year contract. Okay, alright, I don't know what that means, but Bryden told me to read it, so there it is. And oh, I'm sorry, Bryden's handing me another card. Okay, I see there's a little one of Michael Krugman's little bits here, so let me try to give it the read it deserves. It's now time to play America's favorite game. Would this result have been the same if Scott didn't have Drew Brees? And the answer is, once again, yes. Scott would still be 2-2 if he didn't trade for Drew Brees. And there's a little star here next to that. Let me read what this says. This supposes that without the Drew Brees trade, Scott would have kept P. Rivers, who had 24 points this week, so Scott still would have won without the Drew Brees trade. Okay, I don't know what any of that means, but Bryden has a big smile on his face, so I guess it's something funny. It's always runny in Philadelphia, 84 points. The Whitechapel Rippers, 78.9 points. It's always runny in Philadelphia is now 4-0 on the year. Whitechapel Rippers are 3-1. These must be 2 very good teams, and from what I can tell, It's Always Runny in Philadelphia must be the best team in this entire league. But keep in mind, I don't know anything about football, so take that one with a grain of salt. For the Whitechapel Rippers, M. Stafford, 24.5 points. That's a very good game, but some of their other players, B. Cooks, 3.1, V. Davis, 0.8, S. Vereen, 6.7. Not very good. However, there were no options on the bench, so the Whitechapel Rippers did it as well as they could. As for It's Always Runny in Philadelphia, their best player was F. Gore with 23.4 points. D. Hopkins coming next with 12.4. And L. McCoy, 1.7 points. He's from Philadelphia, and let me tell you, Philadelphia also has an incredible, highly underrated modern adult jazz scene. L. McCoy must not be very good with only 1.7 points. Perhaps It's Always Runny in Philadelphia would have been better off playing R. Wayne with 17.9 points or E. Decker with 10.8 points. But they won the game, and from what I understand, that's all that matters. HGAC, I guess that's an acronym. I don't know what that means. 88.5. Ass Tanner, 70.6. Alright, well, that's working a little blue, but okay. The HGAC team is now 2-2, and the Ass Tanner team is now 1-3. For the HGAC team, P. Rivers, 24.5 points. That's very good. And D. Murray, 27.5 points. That's even better. S. Ridley, 2.8, and A. Foster, 6.1. Those guys must not be very good, but HGAC still won. For S. Tanner, T. Romo, 22.7, but L. Blunt and D. Sproles only had 3.1 points combined. I don't think that's very much. M. Izziata, 28 points. He's one of the best players in the league, I suppose. That's a lot of points. V. Cruz, 10.8 points. And the Falcons, DST, -7. That doesn't seem very good to me. I don't think that helped very much the Ass Tanner. I think I'm starting to get the hang of this, I think, and maybe if they had a different defense and they played C. Johnson, who scored 12.1 points over D. Sproles, I think the Ass Tanner could have won this game, but I don't know how you decide which guys play and which guys don't play and what defense plays and what defense doesn't play. So for all I know, Ass Tanner did a really good job here. Maybe next week they'll get a little better. Little Baby Jesus, 104.8. That Kangaroo Stole My Ball, 69.9. Both of these teams are now 2-2 on the season, but I would think that the Little Baby Jesus team is much, much better because they scored a lot more points this week. A. Rogers, I think I recognize him from the commercials as well, 26.8 points. That's very good. And on the other side, N. Foles, only 2.6 points from what I've seen just this week. That's the lowest scoring quarterback of the week, and I don't think that's very good. T. Richardson, 15.9 points. He must be a very good player because that was a very good game. K. Allen, 13.5 points, and N. Novak, 15 points. That seems like a lot of points for a kicker, but for field goals, that's a lot of kicking it. Very good game for Little Baby Jesus, especially considering that all of their bench players were also on have bye. Again, whatever that means. So this was the roster they had to play. As for that Kangaroo Stole My Ball, M. Crabtree, 4.3 points, and B. Marshall, 7.9 points. Not very good. A. Brown, 25.6 points. A. Morris, 15 points. Those were very cool efforts, but in the end, not enough for that Kangaroo Stole My Ball. So there you go. Those are your scores, and this has been your show, and I'm your host, only for today. And again, let's all hope and pray that our main man, Michael Krugman, is okay and chilling out, relaxing all cool, and not laying somewhere dead in a ditch. Because if he is, I might be doing this show again on Bryden Says Friday. So until the next time the clock strikes midnight, this is Bobby Santangelo.